When did mediocrity become acceptable for Original Six franchises? This isn't a philosophical question. It's a direct challenge to three storied organizations currently wrestling with identity crises that threaten to define their seasons. The Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers, and New York Rangers find themselves at critical crossroads, each facing distinct challenges that demand immediate, decisive action. With NHL standings compressed tighter than any recent memory, every single game carries playoff-defining weight, and organizational patience is evaporating faster than ice under arena lights. The margin for error has vanished. The luxury of wait and see approaches no longer exists. And for general managers Kent Hughes, Stan Bowman, and Chris Drury, the next 6 weeks will either validate their strategic vision or expose fatal flaws in roster construction. The Montembeault meltdown, Sam Montembeault struggles have transcended rough patch territory and entered full-blown crisis mode. The 28-year-old netminder, who showed promise in previous seasons, has struggled mightily this year, posting numbers that would embarrass an AHL backup. His save percentage is cratered, his confidence appears shattered, and his body language suggests a goaltender drowning in pressure he cannot handle. The Dobes inconsistency, Jakob Dobes, the young prospect thrust into NHL action earlier than anticipated, has been quite up and down, the polite way of saying he's not ready for this responsibility. Flashes of competence alternate with stretches of vulnerability, creating the kind of unpredictability that destroys team confidence and coaching game plans. For a Canadiens team trying to establish competitive credibility, goaltending instability represents an anchor dragging them toward lottery positioning when playoff contention seemed achievable just weeks ago. Kent Hughes scouring the market, according to reports. General manager Kent Hughes has been actively looking around for trade opportunities, exploring every available option to stabilize the most critical position in hockey. And one name has emerged with particular intrigue: Jordan Binnington. The Binnington possibility, the St. Louis Blues netminder, represents a fascinating potential solution. Experience factor: Stanley Cup champion 2019, proven playoff performer under pressure, 31 years old, veteran presence without being ancient current situation. Playing for struggling Blues organization contract. $6 million AAV through 2026 to 27, likely available given St. Louis's rebuild trajectory acquisition challenges. Cap hit requires financial maneuvering, asset costs, likely includes picks and prospects' personality concerns. Binnington's volatility well documented. Strategic analysis: Binnington represents a high-risk, high-reward acquisition. When engaged and confident, he's a legitimate starting goaltender capable of stealing games. When frustrated or struggling, his emotional volatility can destabilize an entire team. For Montreal, the question becomes, does his championship pedigree and experience justify the asset cost and cap commitment? Or does his inconsistency simply replace one problem with a different version of the same issue? Top 6 forward remains priority beyond goaltending. A top 6 forward remains high on Montreal's shopping list. The same priority that's dominated their trade discussions for over a year. This persistent need highlights both organizational transparency and concerning inability to execute. Available trade chips, the Canadiens possess several assets they can deploy. Arber Xhekaj, physical defenseman with NHL experience, age 23. Still developmental upside popular with fans, making trade emotionally difficult value. Mid-round pick or prospect Jaden Struble, 23-year-old defenseman with mobility, NHRE depth piece, less emotional attachment than Xhekaj value. Similar to Xhekaj, possibly packaged together Adam Engstrom. 21-year-old Swedish defenseman, high-end skating ability still. Developing projection uncertain value. Lottery ticket prospect, appeal to strategic dilemma. Here's the uncomfortable truth: these assets won't land a legitimate top 6 forward. Xhekaj, Struble, and Engstrom represent depth pieces and developmental prospects, valuable in their own right, but insufficient to acquire the impact player Montreal desperately needs. To land a Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou caliber forward, Hughes must include premium assets. First-round picks, Lane Hutson, Logan Mailloux, or Owen Beck. The current rumored trade chip suggests Montreal is shopping for complementary pieces rather than franchise-altering acquisitions. Edmonton's goaltending stalemate. Only needle movers need apply the Skinner-Picker plateau. The Edmonton Oilers find themselves in goaltending purgatory. Not bad enough to justify panic. not good enough to inspire confidence. Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard represent adequate net minding, the kind of performance that wins regular season games but raises serious questions about playoff viability. General manager Stan Bowman has made his position crystal clear. They want improving goal, but only if that truly moves a needle, nothing lateral to their current tandem. This represents intelligent asset management. Trading picks and prospects for marginal improvement makes no strategic sense, especially for a team with legitimate Stanley Cup aspirations. The Oilers need a significant upgrade, not a different version of the same problem. The Binnington buzz and growing roadblocks Jordan Binnington continues to draw plenty of chatter in Edmonton circles, though there appears to be a new roadblock in the way of potential deal with every passing day. Cap complications. Binnington's $6 million AAV requires creative maneuvering asset cost disagreement. St. Louis wants premium return. Edmonton reluctant to overpay performance concerns. Binnington's inconsistency doesn't clearly represent needle-moving upgrade contract term. 2 years remaining creates commitment concerns that Jerry talk cools off Tristan Jarry. The Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender, who generated significant trade speculation weeks ago, has seen talk cool off considerably, likely due to his strong play for a Penguins team currently occupying a playoff spot. This highlights the challenge facing Edmonton. Available goaltenders are available for a reason. When netminders perform well, their teams don't trade them. When they struggle, acquiring teams question whether the change of scenery will actually solve anything. Buzz starts. Insider shuts it down. Trade rumors around the Oilers' defensive group have been limited, though recent buzz started growing around Edmonton's willingness to move Darnell Nurse, the big-bodied, big-contract defenseman, who represents both significant value and considerable risk. However, insider David Pagnotta quickly put out the fire, stating that nothing of that magnitude has even been discussed in Edmonton. Understanding the Nurse reality, Darnell Nurse carries a $9.25 million cap hit through 2029-30, making him one of the league's highest-paid defensemen. His contract represents either unmovable albatross if performance doesn't justify cost valuable asset if he returns to previous form current performance, suggests somewhere between solid top four defenseman overpaid by $2 to $3 million annually. That gap makes trading him nearly impossible without retaining significant salary or accepting minimal return. The Pagnotta report likely reflects reality. Edmonton isn't shopping Nurse because the market wouldn't yield acceptable value. Better to hope for performance improvement than accept pennies on the dollar. The clear-cut number one available with so many top 2026 free agents having signed extensions, Artemi Panarin has emerged as the clear-cut number one player who could become available. This represents seismic potential disruption for the Rangers and opportunity for competitors. The contract standoff details what the Rangers want. Keep their star winger reasonable term and cap hit maintain competitive roster flexibility, what Panarin wants. Stay in New York, genuinely prefers Rangers. Longer-term contract for security, appropriate compensation for elite production to conflict. Panarin's desire to land a longer-term contract could stand in between a deal getting done. At age 33, he's seeking security that extends into his late 30s, a commitment that terrifies teams given historical decline patterns. The production reality Panarin continues to produce at elite levels. Consistent point-per-game performer power play, quarterback dynamic playmaker who elevates line mates' professional approach and leadership presence, but age is undefeated. Signing a 33-year-old to a 4 to 5-year contract carries massive risk, regardless of current production. The Rangers must balance loyalty and gratitude against cap management and competitive sustainability. The market implications if Panarin becomes available, whether through trade or free agency, expect unprecedented competition. Insiders believe New York will be a team to watch moving forward, especially now that next summer's free agent class has gotten awfully thin. Contending teams desperate for offensive firepower would line up with massive offers. The bidding war will be spectacular, potentially resetting the market for aging superstars. Strategic analysis. What should the Rangers do? Arguments for extension. Elite production continues unabated leadership and professionalism invaluable, replacing production nearly impossible fan favorite with marketing value competitive window remains open arguments against extension. Age 33. Decline inevitable at some point. Long-term commitment creates cap inflexibility. Contract could become unmovable. Albatross younger. Cheaper alternatives available. Team needs roster balance. Not top-heavy. Spend the verdict. The Rangers should offer 3 years maximum at $9 to $10 million AAV. This provides Panarin security through age 36 while protecting organizational flexibility. If he demands 4 to 5 years, let him walk or trade him for maximum return. Loyalty matters, but cap management determines championship viability. The Rangers cannot afford another Rick Nash or Brad Richards situation. Aging stars with immovable contracts blocking necessary roster evolution. The broader NHL trade market. Urgency everywhere. Why this year feels different. The report correctly identifies a critical factor. With how tight the NHL standings are, the importance of every single game is at an all-time high. Compressed standings create urgency that forces earlier action. Teams cannot afford prolonged slumps or positional weaknesses. The margin between playoff positioning and lottery odds has shrunk to razor-thin dimensions. This urgency explains why. Montreal is aggressively shopping for goaltending now rather than waiting. Edmonton demands needle-moving upgrades rather than accepting lateral moves. Rangers face immediate pressure to resolve Panarin's situation. The thin trade market reality. Next summer's free agent class has gotten awfully thin, creating additional pressure on teams to act via trade rather than waiting for free agency solutions. When available talent shrinks, asset costs increase. Basic supply and demand economics. This benefits sellers, teams with expiring contracts, and challenges buyers, teams needing immediate help. General managers must balance urgency against asset preservation, a calculation that separates competent executives from exceptional ones. Analytical breakdown. The numbers behind the narratives. Montreal's goaltending disaster. Sam Montembeault, 2024-25. Save percentage, below .900. Exact numbers unavailable, but clearly substandard. Goals saved above expected. Significantly negative high-danger save percentage. Alarmingly low. Jakob Dobes, 2024-25. Limited sample size creates evaluation challenges. Inconsistency. Suggests developmental timeline. Accelerated prematurely. Needs AHL seasoning rather than NHL pressure. Statistical reality. Montreal's goaltending ranks among league's worst, directly costing them 8 to 10 standings points. Edmonton's goaltending adequacy. Stuart Skinner, 2024-25. Save percentage, approximately .905-.910. Adequate but unspectacular. Playoff track record. Concerning vulnerability in high-pressure situations. Consistency. Streaky performance creates uncertainty. Statistical reality. Skinner represents league average goaltending. Sufficient for regular season success. Questionable for playoff runs. Panarin sustained excellence. Artemi Panarin, 2024-25. Point per game, approximately 1.1 to 1.2. Elite production, age 33. Historical data shows decline typically begins 34 to 36. Contract demands for 5 years will extend through age 37 to 38. Statistical reality. Current production justifies elite compensation, but term length creates massive risk given age-related decline patterns. Montreal must act on goaltending. Kent Hughes cannot wait until the trade deadline to address goaltending. Every game lost to inadequate net-minding pushes playoff positioning further from reach. Acquire Jordan Binnington or equivalent immediately, even if the asset cost feels uncomfortable. Edmonton should maintain standard Stan Bowman's needle-moving upgrades only approach is absolutely correct. Trading assets for lateral moves accomplishes nothing. Either land a legitimate difference maker or trust the current tandem and focus resources elsewhere. Rangers face existential decision. Chris Drury must establish firm contract parameters with Panarin. 3 years maximum. Take it or explore trade options. Loyalty matters, but organizational sustainability matters more. The Rangers cannot afford another aging superstar contract that becomes unmovable burden. The NHL's competitive balance has created unprecedented urgency. Teams cannot afford prolonged struggles or unaddressed weaknesses. The margin between success and failure has shrunk to microscopic dimensions. For Montreal, Edmonton, and New York, the next 6 weeks would define their seasons and potentially their organizational trajectories. Kent Hughes must solve goaltending immediately. Stan Bowman must resist pressure from marginal upgrades. Chris Drury must balance loyalty against cap management. The decisions they make or fail to make will echo for years. Should Montreal surrender significant assets for Jordan Binnington? Is Edmonton right to demand needle-moving upgrades rather than accepting lateral moves? Should the Rangers extend Panarin long-term or let him walk? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's debate these franchise-defining decisions with the intensity they deserve. And if you appreciate analytical breakdowns that cut through media noise, smash that like button and let me know what topics need deeper examination. Your voice matters in evaluating these organizational crossroads. Let's talk hockey with the intelligence and passionate demands. Current date, Friday, December 5th, 2025, 11:52 a.m. This has been your comprehensive analysis of the latest NHL trade buzz surrounding the Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers, and New York Rangers, three storied franchises navigating critical decisions that will define their competitive futures.